What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see, we actually got 19 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get 19 picks right like me, win more bets, and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure you join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $510 just yesterday. Another member who won $150 for the 7th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel, the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to Small Steps 401 who said let's go pick time. Shouts out to P Dundee 6904 who said let's go, and shouts out to Ricardo Gioza 2981 who said let's cash. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. All right, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to talk about is none other than Fred VanVleet. Now this one's a fantastic one, 4 points for 14.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, when we look at Fred VanVleet, we've actually seen him go on the under in 4 out of the last 5 games, which is interesting to see. Now, when it comes to Fred VanVleet, we've seen him go on the under in 4 out of the last 5, but looking at those games, March 31st, they faced off against Phoenix, where he had 13 points there. Then April 1st, faced off against the LA Lakers, where he had 7 points. April 5th, against Oklahoma City Thunder, where he had 13. Then April 7th, faced off against Golden State Warriors, where he had 3 points there. And then April 14th, faced off against Denver, where he had 15 points. So we've actually seen, someone like Fred VanVleet go on the under, a majority of times. And this one's an interesting one to us because we do like the under due to these certain reasons. But first of all, I do want to talk about Warriors and Houston, the actual matchup. Now, obviously, looking at both of these teams, the Houston Rockets did have themselves a great season in the Western Conference. They actually have a record of 52-30. So they did a fantastic job there. When it comes to the Golden State Warriors, the Warriors were in the play-in. They were able to take that first win, which landed them the 7th spot, and they had a record during the regular season of 48-34. So they did a fantastic job when it comes to, actually making the playoffs. I think that's honestly a massive thing, especially due to the fact that, someone like Fred VanVleet not only has been playing great, but, when it comes to the Rockets and the Warriors matchup, a lot of these teams have been playing very well, especially in the Western Conference. Now, looking at the Golden State Warriors when it comes to points allowed, the Golden State Warriors do actually rank 8th when it comes to points allowed during the regular season. And there's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. Although Golden State Warriors do only rank 7th in the Western Conference, they did a fantastic job throughout the whole season restricting points, which is a big factor coming into this game. Because of that, we do very much like the under for this situation here for someone like Fred VanVleet. Now, the Warriors also do a fantastic job, specifically at restricting points to the guard position. So that's definitely, a big factor there. And the fact that when it comes to Fred VanVleet and the Golden State Warriors, what we also do see is that his average over the last 5 is not only just 10.2, but it's significantly below his line as well. So we definitely are looking at those games, and his usage rate finishing off the season's definitely been on the lower side. Now, on top of that, we look at a matchup on April 7th where they faced off against the Golden State Warriors, and we saw him only score 3 points in that matchup. So that's definitely a tall tale sign to us on why we do like the under for this situation here. Someone like Fred VanVleet, he has shown it in that game, and as of a recent game, shown why he's gone on the under. Now, looking at Fred VanVleet against actually Golden State Warriors throughout this whole season, we have actually seen them play multiple times. Now, they played each other on the 2nd of November, and that was their first game against each other. He had 11 points in that matchup, so under this line there. Then they faced off again on the 5th of December, and he only had 13 points there, so under his line in that matchup. Then played again on the 11th of December of 2024, and he had 8 points in that matchup. So under on that line as well. And then to finish off, they faced off against, on the 6th of April, and he only had 3 points in that matchup. So it's definitely noticeable that, when it comes to Fred VanVleet, he's definitely gone on the under multiple times. On top of that, when you also look, at his actual scoring ability, especially as of lately, he's gone significantly below his line. So that's definitely a big sign to us on why we do like, the under for this situation here. He has gone on the under in 4 out of those 4 games against Warriors during the regular season. So we should see a similar outcome coming into this next game, especially now that it's playoff time. So it is playoff time. It's definitely going to be a very, very different matchup. And we're definitely going to see a different defensive strategy, but also a great defensive ability from this Golden State Warriors team. So for that reason, Fred VanVleet, 14.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next player, we're actually going to be talking about Anthony Black. So, you may have heard of Anthony Black before. He is a fantastic player for the Orlando Magic. Now, he's done a fantastic job all season. However, this one is for 8 points, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Anthony Black, we have seen him actually go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those, 5 games, we see on April 4th, they faced off against Washington, where he had 6 points there. And April 9th actually faced off against Atlanta, which is an interesting game there. And he also had a push in that matchup and had 8 points. Then April 10th faced off against Boston, where he had 6 points there. Then April 12th faced off against Indiana, having 21 points, and then 20 points against Atlanta on April 14th. So Anthony Black did, go on the under in 3 out of the last 5, with one of them being a push, but his average over the last 5 is also 12.2. Now it is, above this line. However, you do have to realize that he did have 2 outlier games to finish off the season, and a big reason for that was because it was the end of the season. When it comes to those last 2 games that Orlando did play, obviously they were resting their stars and resting a lot of the players that will have a lot more usage rate coming into the playoffs. So Anthony Black did have a little bit more of usage rate out there. He had kind of the green light, and he was able to take advantage of this. But now that it is playoff time, it's a very, very different story. Anthony Black is and will regress his usage rate and go back to where he was before. Now, when we look at Anthony Black as well, what we also do see is, they face off against Boston Celtics in this first game and this first matchup of the playoffs. Now, as you all know, starting off with both teams and looking at both, we see that Orlando Magic did actually come in at the 7th spot and had a record of 41-41. So they had a 50% win percentage, so pretty much dead center in the middle. And when it comes to their matchup, they faced off against the Boston Celtics. Now, the Boston Celtics did rank 2nd in the Eastern Conference and had a record of 61-21. So, very different record there. Also, on top of that, like I just mentioned, Boston did do a fantastic job during, the whole season, and that's the reason why they were able to get that 2nd pick. Now, it is definitely going to be an interesting game there. Now, looking at Boston Celtics when it comes to points allowed, we do see that Boston Celtics do rank 2nd when it comes to points allowed. So this one's kind of a no-brainer to us on why we do like the under for this situation here. Boston Celtics are just a fantastic defensive team. They do a great job at restricting points, and especially do a great job at restricting points to the guard position. So that's a big reason why we do very much like, the under for this situation here. Now, when it comes to someone, like Anthony Black, we tend to see him not have that high of a usage rate as well. So that's definitely a big sign for us there. Now, when we also look at someone like Anthony Black, what we have seen time and time again is that his usage rate tends to remain pretty low in that points department. And especially now that it is playoff time, we should see some other players actually take a lot more of the usage rate away from, someone like Anthony Black coming into this game. So, for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. Now, when we look at Anthony Black over his last games against actually Boston Celtics, we have seen them play quite a few times. Now, obviously, we saw them play on the 23rd of December. Now, this one was an interesting game. He did have 9 points in that matchup, so he slightly just went on the over by only 1 point. Then they played each other again on the 17th of January, and in that matchup, he actually had himself himself, 13 points in that matchup. And then on the 9th of April, only had 6 points in that matchup. So yes, he may have gone on the actual, under only 1 out of the 3, but it is playoff time. Anthony Black, especially in some of those games, he did have a little bit more usage rate due to certain injuries. But now that it is playoff time, like I mentioned, it's definitely going to be a very, very different story. And for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see someone, like Anthony Black going on the under, as we are expecting other players in this Orlando matchup to take a lot more of the usage rate away from him. So, for that reason, we are sticking to the under for this one. So Anthony Black for 8 points for less, I think is a great, great pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Scottie Pippen Jr. So, as you all know, Scottie Pippen Jr., great player from the Memphis Grizzlies. And when it comes to Scottie Pippen Jr., this one is actually for assists. So this one is actually for 5 assists. Okay, so this one's a great one, and this one actually is for less. So this is the pick right here. Scottie Pippen, like I mentioned, 5 assists for less. Now, this one's a fantastic one. Now, when we look at Scottie Pippen, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, this one, we do see, looking at those last 5 games, April 4th faced off against Miami, where he had 7 assists there. After that, on April 6th, faced off against Detroit, and he had himself a 3 assist in that matchup. After that, faced off against Charlotte on April 9th, having 2 assists. Then 4 assists against Minnesota on April 11th. And then Denver Nuggets, April 7th. April 12th, he only had... didn't only have, he actually had 7. So, he did go on the under still in 3 out of the last 5 games, and his average over the last 5 is 4.6. So, 4.6 for his actual average over the last 5, so under his average as well. Now, when it comes to Scottie Pippen Jr., the Memphis Grizzlies do face off against Oklahoma City Thunder. So, this is definitely going to be an exciting matchup for sure. Now, obviously, when we look at both of these teams, we do know that the Memphis Grizzlies did land themselves the 8th spot in the actual Western Conference with a record of actually 48-34. So they had a record of 48-34. They did a pretty good job there. But on top of that, we also do see that, they face off against Oklahoma City Thunder, and Oklahoma City Thunder actually had the best record in the league in general and had a 68-14 record. So they actually ranked first, which was honestly huge from them. Now, Oklahoma City Thunder, as we all know, is a very tough team. They are a very good team, but when we look at actually Oklahoma City Thunder when it comes to assists allowed, we see that Oklahoma do rank 4th when it comes to assists allowed. So this one is a no-brainer to us why we do like the under for this situation here. We definitely see him going on the under due to the fact that when it comes to actually Scottie Pippen Jr., what we have seen time and time again is that, Scottie Pippen Jr. does have a decent usage rate in assists, but Oklahoma City Thunder do a fantastic job at restricting assists to the actual guard position. So we definitely see that having a huge effect coming into this, game. It's definitely going to be a massive game, for Memphis due to the fact that they did scrape themselves an 8th spot. So they are definitely trying to get a win as soon as possible. However, we are expecting on the defensive side of things, Oklahoma City Thunder shouldn't have any problem at restricting Scottie Pippen Jr. Now, looking at Scottie Pippen Jr. over the last couple of games against Oklahoma City Thunder this season, he has done a pretty decent job in some games and not so well in others. So actually looking around, we do see Scottie Pippen Jr. Memphis did play Oklahoma City Thunder on the 29th of December, and he actually had 6 assists in that matchup. So he did go on the over in that one. Then faced off again on the 8th of February. In that matchup, he had 0 assists, which was, a big surprise one there. And then on the 5th of actually March, we actually saw him have 3 assists, so went on the under again, and then had 7 assists on the 27th of actual March as well. So interesting enough, we have seen him go in the under in 2 out of the last 4, so it is split down the middle. But now that it is playoff time, we are expecting a similar amount of result coming into this game for that reason. So, definitely keep an eye out for Scottie Pippen. We do very much like the under for this situation here. So Scottie Pippen Jr., 5 assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Chet Holmgren. So as you all know, Chet Holmgren is a fantastic player from the Oklahoma City Thunder, or OKC, and he's done a fantastic job all season because he actually averaged during the regular season 15 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 49% from the field. So he's done a fantastic job there. And when it comes to Chet, we actually do see the Oklahoma City Thunder face off against none other than the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, looking at both of these teams, they are on different sides of the poll because Oklahoma City Thunder actually finished with the first spot in the Western Conference and actually had the best record in the whole of NBA, had a record of 68-14. So they did a fantastic job there. They had an 82.9% win percentage. So they actually did really, really well. And on top of that, when you look on the other side, you see that they face off against the Memphis Grizzlies. And the Memphis Grizzlies did have a record, of 48-34 during the regular season. Now, when we look at the Memphis Grizzlies, as we all know, the Grizzlies are the 8th spot. Now, they did have 2 play-in games. They did lose against the Warriors the first time, and then they faced off against Mavericks, which they ended up beating them in. So when it comes to that, we actually do see Grizzlies have had a little bit more games in between, but we are still expecting a very exciting game out of both these teams, and their energy levels should both be definitely much there. Now, looking at the Memphis Grizzlies, when it comes to points, rebounds, and assists allowed, we see that the Memphis Grizzlies do rank when it comes to points allowed. They surprisingly rank 24th, which is interesting to see. Now, moving on into assists allowed, we see them rank a little bit better as they rank 18th. And then also, rebounds allowed, we see them rank a little bit better as they rank 10th. So, when it comes to someone like Chet Holmgren, we still do very much like the over for this situation here. A big reason being is that due to the fact not only do they rank pretty low in all 3 categories, yes, they do rank a little bit higher in rebounds, and definitely not high enough to us, but Memphis Grizzlies also do very much struggle against the power forward and center position. Now, when it comes to Chet, we tend to see him play power forward, sometimes center as well. It really does depend, and we definitely see him being able to take advantage of the Grizzlies, who don't do really too well in that department. Now, looking at someone like Chet as well coming into this matchup, we have seen him over the last couple of games have some pretty big games. He's come off a game against Phoenix where he had 22 points, 4 assists, and 10 rebounds. Another matchup where he had 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists against Detroit. And another matchup where he had 20 points, 1 assist, and 4 rebounds against the Houston Rockets. So he has done a fantastic job there. Now, when it comes to someone like Chet Holmgren and Oklahoma City Thunder, they do actually face off, like I said, against Grizzlies. But when we look at the matchup between both of these teams, we are expecting a pretty fast-paced game. Thunder are a fast-paced team, so are the Grizzlies. So when it comes to pace, it definitely should be there. So if there is enough pace, we should see a lot more volume, which leads to a lot more stats for someone like Chet Holmgren. So, all in all, we do definitely very much like the over for a situation like this. Although, Thunder and Grizzlies, it is the 1st against the 8th. A lot of people may be expecting a blowout situation, but guys, girls, you do have to realize this is the NBA and it is playoff time. We are expecting a game that can definitely go down to the wire, okay? All these teams are definitely fighting until the end, especially when it comes to playoff time. So, definitely keep an eye out for the over for Chet. I don't really see the need to focus on any, whether it's points, rebounds, and assists. We definitely see him having a good game in all 3 categories. So definitely just keep an eye out for the line, and the line that is under his averages, then definitely look to go on the over because I see a lot of value there. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Franz Wagner. So Franz Wagner from the Orlando Magic has done a fantastic job all season. And when it comes to, Orlando Magic and Wagner, we have seen Wagner in the regular season average 24.2 points, ranking him 15th, 5.7 rebounds, ranking him 56, 4.7 assists, ranking him 43rd, and then 46.3% from the field, ranking him 71st. So he did a fantastic job, for the Orlando Magic. And when it comes to the Orlando Magic, they do have themselves a very, very interesting matchup against none other than the Boston Celtics. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Now, when we look at both of these teams and where they rank during the regular season, although Celtics are a very, very strong favorite, to win an NBA championship, they did actually come second in the Eastern Conference with a record of 61-21. So they had a 74.4% win percentage. They face off against Orlando. Now, Orlando Magic on the other side, they do have a record of 41-41. So they actually finished with a 50% win percentage, and they actually came in at the 7th spot in the actual Eastern Conference. So, they did have a couple or one play-in game, which they did a fantastic job therein, but now they do actually have themselves, time for playoffs because they face off against a very, very tough Celtics team. Now, looking at the Celtics during the regular season, we see them rank 2nd in points allowed, 3rd in assists allowed, and when it comes to rebounds allowed, they do rank a little bit lower, but still do rank very decent as they rank 13th. Now, when it comes to someone like Franz Wagner, we do very much like the under for this situation here. A big reason being is that when we look at someone like Franz Wagner, not only do we see him, have a decent usage rate, but since he is one of these main players, what we have seen is that Celtics, time and time again, really focus in on star players and try to restrict them as much as they can. So this is definitely the type of basketball or type of defensive strategies that, this Orlando Magic team will definitely face. Celtics do love to run it. We see them do a fantastic job. Obviously, Paolo Banchero is also another star player, but in this case, we should see someone like Wagner as Celtics also do a fantastic job against the small forward position. So we definitely see someone like him going on the under here. Now, looking at Franz Wagner and the last, 5 games he did have, we actually did see him play in that game against Atlanta where he actually had 13 points, 3 assists, 13 rebounds there. And they actually most recently did play Boston. And in that game, he had 23 points, went under his line there, had 2 assists, went under his line there. But then rebounds, he went on the over as he had 8 rebounds. So, he did actually go on the over compared to his averages in that matchup. But, it's definitely more of the under, as 2 out of the 3 were definitely on the under when it comes to categories. Now, another game, he also had 22 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds against Atlanta. So yes, his usage rate has definitely still remained high, but as you see, when he does face off against tougher defensive teams like Boston, we definitely see him, I wouldn't say struggle is the right word, but he definitely doesn't reach his line that consistently. So we should see that coming into this matchup. On top of that, when we look at both of these teams, Orlando Magic and Boston are very, very slow-paced teams. We definitely see that being a huge effect coming into this matchup for sure, due to the fact that there's going to be, little amount of pace in this matchup, which is definitely going to affect this game greatly. So, for that reason, when you look at Celtics slow pace, Magic slow pace, a lack of pace or a slow pace game leads to less volume and less opportunities for Franz Wagner. So for that reason, we are definitely sticking to the under for this situation here. I wouldn't really say you need to focus on anything. I think, Franz has the capability to go on the under in either of those 3, sort of categories. So you just definitely want to just keep an eye out for it. Whichever the line is too close to his averages, definitely look to go on the under there. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Evan Mobley. So, Evan Mobley, great player from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they do actually have themselves a very good matchup against the Miami Heat. So when we look at the Miami Heat, we do know, or we do see that they are, a pretty decent team. But obviously, it is definitely going to be the 1st versus 8th spot. Now, first looking at Evan Mobley, first of all, when it comes to his stats, we did see him during the regular season average 18.5 points, ranking him 43rd, 9.3 rebounds, ranking him 14th, 3.2 assists, ranking him 79th, and a 55.7% field goal percentage, ranking him 12th. So we actually saw Evan Mobley do a fantastic job all season, and he did such a fantastic job that he helped this Cleveland Cavaliers team actually get the 1st spot in the Eastern Conference. So they did get that number 1 spot with a record of 64-18, so fantastic record there. They actually had a 78% win percentage, which was honestly insane, especially due to the fact that not many other teams or even I guess NBA fans were expecting Cavaliers to really come out and play very, very well. So You know, they did a great job throughout the season. Now, they do face off against the Miami Heat. Now, obviously, Miami Heat did actually land themselves the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference. So, they are currently ranked 8th. Now, this is definitely an interesting one due to the fact that when it actually comes to Evan Mobley, we do see, you know, Evan Mobley has a great usage rate in all 3 departments. But looking at Miami Heat, we do see during the regular season, they rank 7th when it comes to points allowed. They rank 15th when it comes to assists allowed. And then rebounds allowed, we also see them ranked 19th. So we do very much like the over for this situation for someone like Evan Mobley due to the fact that he does have a decent usage rate in all 3 departments, but I definitely would focus a little bit more on rebounds and assists. Now, Miami Heat actually do a fantastic job at restricting points. So we definitely still see that affecting, you know, Evan Mobley. So I think rebounds and assists is definitely where you want to keep an eye on since Heat don't really rank too well in that. On top of that, when it comes to Miami Heat, they also do a poor job on a per position basis. They do a poor job at restricting rebounds and assists as well to the power forward position. So we should see someone like Evan Mobley be able to take advantage of this. He does have a great usage rate in all 3 departments. Yes, a little bit lower in that assist category, but definitely still enough to see him be able to go in the over, especially against teams that don't do really well in that department. And especially for this matchup against Miami Heat, we definitely should see that happen. Now, Evan Mobley not only has been playing very decent, but what we have seen over the last couple of games, we saw him in the most recent matchup against New York Knicks have 16 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists there. He had another matchup where he had 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists. So those are the types of games where you definitely see him face off against an easier team. He's able to take advantage very, very quick. Another matchup where he had 25 points, 12 rebounds, and also 5 assists as well. So he's definitely had some pretty big games, and this is a big, big reason why we do very much, you know, like the over for Evan Mobley. You know, when it comes to points, like I said, I think it is a little bit more 50-50. Rebounds and assists is definitely where you want to focus on. Now, I'm not saying there isn't enough or enough value to see him go on the over on points, but just keep an eye out for the line. And if it is something that you do like, then definitely keep an eye out for that. But rebounds and assists is definitely where I'm focusing on. So keep an eye out for those lines. If it is under his averages, then definitely look to go on the over. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Alperen Sengun. So, as you all know, Sengun, a great player from the Houston Rockets, and he's done a fantastic job all season because he's been averaging 19.1 points, ranking him 39th. Also, 10.3 rebounds, ranking him 9th. 4.9 assists, ranking him 40th. And then 49.6% from the field, ranking him 36th. So, he has done a fantastic job, you know, for the Houston Rockets. And when it comes to the Houston Rockets, they do have themselves a very good matchup against the Golden State Warriors. Now, it is definitely going to be an exciting game, no doubt about it. Now, looking at both of these teams, obviously, Houston Rockets did have a record of 52-30. They did a fantastic job during that game, have a 63.4% win percentage, and they also face off against the Golden State Warriors, who have the 7th spot in the Western Conference. Now, Golden State Warriors did play in the play-ins. They did only have to play one game since they beat Grizzlies. However, they do have the 7th spot, and they had a record of 48-34, which is a 58.5% win percentage. So definitely interesting one there. When we look at someone like Alperen Sengun, we definitely do like the, a situation here, because when we look at the Golden State Warriors, we do see that the Golden State Warriors do rank 8th when it comes to points allowed, 10th in assists allowed, and when it comes to rebounds allowed, they do rank 15th. So Warriors actually surprisingly rank very high. And for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. Alperen Sengun is a great player, do not get me wrong, but what we have noticed time and time again is that the Golden State Warriors' defensive strategies has definitely been to focus in on stars and try to restrict them as much as they can. So we are expecting that coming from this next team, which, Alperen Sengun is definitely going to be a matchup for the Warriors, and the Warriors are definitely going to send a lot of their defensive attention on him and maybe other stars in this team. Now, Golden State Warriors as a whole also do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the center position. So even on a per position basis, it definitely works out in their favor, no doubt about it. When we look at some of his most recent games, he is coming off a game against Denver where he had 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. And then another matchup which was against the Golden State Warriors, and he had 19 points. So only had 19, so actually technically under his line because his average is 19.1. He had 4 assists, so under on that line, and then 14 rebounds, which he did go on the over, but 2 out of the 3 he did go on the the under on. So we should see a similar result like that. He also had another matchup against LA Lakers, who do a great job against center, where he only had 14.7 rebounds and 6 assists. So you definitely do see that, when it comes to teams that do a great job defensively, you tend to see Alperen Sengun struggle just a little bit. Now, there really isn't any to focus on, since Golden State Warriors just do a fantastic job all around. So for that reason, I definitely would just keep an eye out for Sengun coming into this matchup, because we definitely do like the under coming for this situation here, as Warriors defense tends to really focus in on that.